This video is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. It contains graphic and disturbing subject matter. Prepare yourself for a chilling journey into the depths of human depravity. This is the tale of Edward Theodore Gein, a man whose name would forever be etched in infamy. Known as the Butcher of Plainfield, Gein turned a quiet Wisconsin town into a living horror story, where the line between life and death blurred in ways unimaginable to the average person. His tale is one of obsession, madness, and a grotesque descent into darkness, a tale of horror that is not born from the supernatural, but from the very depths of human nature itself. Born in 1906 in the small town of Crosse, Wisconsin, Ed Gein's childhood was marked by intense control and religious fanaticism. His mother, Augusta, was a deeply devout woman who saw the world as evil and corrupt. To her, all women were temptresses, agents of the devil except for herself. She instilled in Ed and his brother a fear of women and the sinful nature of the world. She kept them isolated from others, forcing them to live in an environment steeped in fear and hatred. Ed's father, a weak man, was largely absent from his life, leaving Augusta to rule with an iron fist. As a child, Ed was shy, awkward, and somewhat of an outcast, but it was the overwhelming influence of his mother that would shape his entire existence. When Ed's brother, Henry, died under mysterious circumstances in 1944, officially from asphyxiation while fighting a firefight, set off a series of tragic events that would lead Ed further down the path of madness. Then, in 1945, Augusta, the woman who had controlled and shaped Ed's life in every way, passed away. But far from providing Ed with freedom, her death shattered his already fragile mind, trapping him in an abyss of isolation and despair. It was as if a part of him died with her, and what remained was a hollow shell. With Augusta gone, Ed had nothing to anchor him to reality. The world around him became a blur of grief, obsession, and an overwhelming need to fill the void left by his mother's passing. Gein retreated into the desolation of his family farm, a place where memories of his mother's stern teachings still lingered in the dust-covered rooms. The house, once a place of religious fervor and discipline, had transformed into a cold, decaying mausoleum. It was here that Ed's obsession with death began to take root. The boundary between life and death became blurred in his mind, and he sought solace in what he believed was the only way to bring his mother back to life. Ed's fascination with human anatomy grew as he spent more time alone in the house. What started as a morbid curiosity evolved into something far darker. He began visiting local graveyards at night, armed with a shovel, digging up freshly buried corpses. His obsession knew no limits. Gein exhumed the bodies of women, taking their skin, oils, and organs back to his farmhouse. But what he did with these remains defied all logic and humanity. Ed Gein turned human remains into grotesque artifacts. Chairs were made from human bones, lampshades were fashioned from tanned human skin, and a belt was decorated with human nipples. He even crafted a mask, a ghastly face of human skin that he wore to become his mother. This wasn't just madness. This was a twisted form of devotion. Gein was attempting to keep his mother alive in the only way his shattered mind knew how. The boundaries between the living and the dead no longer existed for him, and his macabre creations were the only way he could feel close to the woman who had controlled his life for so long. But as horrific as his grave robbing was, it wasn't enough. Ed's obsession escalated further, leading to his first murder. In 1954, Mary Hogan, a local tavern owner, disappeared. Her disappearance went largely unnoticed at first, but it was only a precursor to what Ed would do next. In 1957, Bernice Worden, the owner of a local hardware store, also went missing. Her disappearance sparked an investigation, and when the police entered her store, they found blood smeared across the floor, leading them straight to Gein's farmhouse. Inside the farmhouse, officers stumbled upon a scene straight out of a nightmare. They found a human head stored in a box, organs preserved in jars, and a heart lying next to the stove. The house reeked of decay and death, a horrifying testament to Gein's twisted actions. Officers discovered even more disturbing items: human remains, fashioned into various objects and adornments. The smell of death lingered in the air, and every corner of the house told a story of unimaginable horrors. When Gein was arrested, he confessed to the murders of Mary Hogan and Bernice Worden, detailing how he had killed them before dissecting their bodies. But even more chilling was his admission to grave robbing. Gein had violated the resting places of down scenes of women, stealing their bodies to use them for his grotesque creations. The world was horrified by what they discovered in that farmhouse, and it seemed as though no one could fully comprehend the depths of Ed Gein's depravity. In court, Gein was declared insane and unfit for trial. He was sent to the Central State Hospital for the Criminally Insane, where he would spend the remainder of his life. In 1984, Ed Gein died in the institution at the age of 77. His farmhouse, once the epicenter of his horrifying activities, was burned to the ground in 1958, erasing its physical presence but not its terrifying legacy. Ed Gein's gruesome crimes shocked the world, and his story became the inspiration for several famous horror films, including Psycho, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and The Silence of the Lambs. But the truth behind Ed Gein's actions was far more chilling than anything Hollywood could have imagined. His crimes were a testament to the darkness that can reside within the human mind when it is pushed to its limits. To this day, the memory of Ed Gein haunts the small town of Plainfield. His shadow still looms over the area, a grim reminder of how the human mind can be twisted and warped. Gein's legacy is a dark stain on the history of the town, one that can never be erased. And as you lie in bed tonight, remember this: true horror doesn't come from monsters in the dark. It comes from the darkness within us all. Sleep tight, if you dare.